Hello and welcome. I'm delighted to welcome Lubomira Roche, Chief Digital Officer of L'Oréal. Lubomira has led L'Oréal's digital transformation since she joined the group in 2014 and helped turn it into a true beauty tech company. In 2014, when Lubomira arrived at L'Oréal, e-commerce accounted for less than 5% of sales. Last year, the channel represented 27% of business, and the company says that 50% of its sales will come from e-commerce in the next few years. Lubomira, thank you very much for being with us here today.
Thanks for having me, Una. It's a pleasure.
So today we're going to talk about e-commerce and more specifically about the different forms of e-commerce. But before we get into the heart of the subject, I just want to ask you about the impact of the strong e-commerce growth that you have seen over the past year. E-commerce sales were up 62% at L'Oréal in 2020, and they went from 15% of business in 2019 to 27% of business last year. What have been the key challenges in managing such a rapid growth in the channel for you, for example, in terms of assortment, in terms of supply chain, delivery, etc.?
Yeah, all of those were massive challenges. It's true that we were ready for accelerating in e-commerce. It has been part of our strategy for a long time. But it's true that the magnitude of the wave that we had to navigate was extreme. We had seen growth, incredible growth in certain categories. I'm thinking especially about hair color. At the beginning, when the salons were closed, we saw 200-300% growth day after day in this category. So I think I would say the first thing that we really worked on was real-time analytics. And being able to, sometimes before the crisis, we had like insights every 3 months. We dig into it, we analyze them. Now we had like a couple of hours to understand, to be super consumer centric, to understand where the consumers were going, what they were looking for, and to adapt from a supply chain and from an assortment perspective. So that's one. Real-time analytics has been a big learning there. We've built like entire systems in a matter of days and weeks. We've increased our partnerships with the retailers also to be able to, in e-commerce we don't have panels. So it's really now up to the relationship we have with our retailers to get more understanding of the categories, the evolution, etc. I would say that's the second thing. And the third thing is that we had to reorganize a bit and to break the silos. Because what we've seen also is a massive shift in terms of media allocation, moving especially at the heart of the crisis from more, awareness and brand building to more performance, lower funnel type of media. And we were really gathering the teams together to make sure that there were no silo, because between the people who were buying media on the platforms, the people who were managing the merchandising in the assortment and the sales. So I would say those were the 3 big things.
So big changes there. In terms of the e-commerce business, you say that it's currently quite evenly weighted between the D2C sites, the pure players, and the e-retailer sites. As e-commerce continues to grow, do you see that split between those different types of e-commerce changing quite a bit, or how do you see that evolving with the growth in the e-commerce market?
I would say that it very much depends. In fact, it's a very complex question because it really depends on the distribution landscape in the different countries and zones, I would say. For example, if you take Asia, the big bulk of the e-commerce is really driven by pure players and native, digital platforms such as Lazada or Temu or Shopee or WeChat. And if we look at the US or Europe, it's much more even between e-tailers who are actually accelerating tremendously. That has been one of the key learnings from the COVID, and also pure players a la Amazon or Zalando all look fantastic. So I think it really depends on the offline, I would say, traditional distribution landscape. When you have a very strong concentration of distribution before the digital wave hit and accelerated, I think it will be more even. So I would say that it depends on the zone, it depends on the countries. For example, we have a country like Japan where D2C is super important because you don't have a massive amount of players, of e-commerce players, especially for the luxury market. So it's a country that is very strong in D2C for us, that is over-representing into D2C. So it's really important to have a very clear per country, per zone view in order to hedge your bets as it has to be done.
Do you think, though, that D2C obviously has a lot of advantages for brands? Do you think that's something that you will prioritize, perhaps, though, nonetheless, over these other e-commerce channels? I mean, you have the data with D2C, you have, in terms of pricing, it's easier to fix. You have, obviously, the direct relationship with the consumer. Is that an e-commerce channel that you will prioritize, perhaps, over some of the other channels that are out there?
You're absolutely right. It's true that it's a very strategic channel for us, not only because we can control the brand experience fully, and also because we have the relationship, and we can really understand also better our consumers and personalize even better our relationship with them. So it's absolutely strategic. And here again, I would say it depends, because we have 36 brands in our global portfolio. Some brands are working very well in D2C. I'm thinking especially of the luxury brands, or some brands like SkinCeuticals or Kerastase that are not widely distributed offline, and that have very strong brand equities, and that have a price point that is helping and supporting us making profit in this channel. But if you take our most mass brands, apart from NYX Professional Makeup, we don't have a D2C, except very few exceptions. We don't have a D2C approach for L'Oréal Paris or Garnier or Maybelline. So it depends on the brands, depends on the country, but overall, it's absolutely a very strategic channel. And it's a strategic channel also because by learning everything we learn in D2C, we can also be very much smarter with our e-retailer and pure player partners. So I don't see it as a battle or as a fight, but more as a complementary strategies, in fact.
Okay, so do you think it's easier then for prestige brands to go D2C, obviously, then, as to have that sort of one-to-one relationship with the consumer?
I would say it really very much depends on the distribution offline. The more you're distributed offline, the harder it is to find a USP for your D2C. And it also depends on the price points. The higher the price point, the higher the basket you can bring, also the better the experience you can bring, because if not, it affects your profitability. So I'd say those are the really two drivers that for us are strategic when we think about this D2C channel.
Okay. In addition to DTC, there's a lot of other places to shop online, and it seems that there's more and more by the day. Given that, and given the growth in e-commerce, and given the number of other players that there are available today online, do you see the e-tailer, the retailers' websites, do you see that declining just as a result of that, or as a result of that movement there? And what would you say that the brick and mortar retailers need to do to better capitalize on the online opportunity there?
What we've seen from emerging from the COVID is that some brick and mortar partners have been challenged, and we know many of them, but some have accelerated tremendously. If we think of Ulta or Sephora or Walmart or Target or Carrefour or DM, I mean, or Watsons, all of those players have also accelerated tremendously during COVID. And I think that's a movement that is here to stay. For us, it's a great news because those partners are very important for us, of course. And we can also accelerate and help them also accelerate on the beauty category. And I think to your question on what needs to be done, I would say first, I've seen many of the e-retailers adopt a marketplace strategy, such as Target. That was really interesting. Walmart is doing that too, because that helped them really increase the offering, which is, of course, one of the very important points. The second thing I would say is that those e-retailers command a massive, membership base. They have strong, memberships programs, and this is something that can really be leveraged online. And that is really, really interesting. There's not only Prime out there, but there are also many membership programs that can be leveraged online by those players. And I would say also to work really on the convenience and on the multiple delivery models that exist. You have click and collect, you have also the capacity with the last milers, such as the Instacarts of the world or the Deliveroo's more and more, to be really, to have an order online and be delivered at your home. So all of that is really interesting also, and it's a playground also for them, I think, in terms of innovation.
So do you think that there will be more of these marketplace type sites coming from? I mean, obviously there's Walmart has done that, and some of those really big retailers have done that. Can you see that maybe with some of the perfumery chains? Obviously Douglas launched a marketplace last year as well. Can you see that becoming more common? How do you see the landscape, I would say, I suppose, in terms of the players there? Is it going to be more e-retailer marketplaces? Is it going to be more big tech type channels as well, or more curated beauty e-commerce players, which we have seen there's quite a lot of them, Cult Beauty, for example, etc. How do you sort of see that landscape evolving as the growth continues there?
That's a very fundamental question and a very big one. If I take the two important pieces of your question, marketplaces on one side and the curated business model on the other side, I absolutely do believe that marketplaces are on the rise. Because at the end of the day, it's really a way to extend the offering portfolio, and it's a way also for the retailers to be more profitable and more consumer centric, in the sense that they're offering more. If you look at a company called Miracle is a tech company that is really building marketplaces, helping e-retailers or pure players or brands build marketplaces. The sheer amount of growth of the GMV that they have been commanding in the past years is very telling from an infrastructural point of view of this movement towards marketplaces. So marketplaces, yes, absolutely. But at the same time, we see also that there is a demand from the consumers for more curated, for different types of user experience and shopping experiences, and this is, I think, something that is gonna play out. Also, because of the shortfall of the previous model. When you have a marketplace model, the choice becomes like almost schizophrenic. It becomes really complicated for you as a consumer to be able to choose. And so the curated business models based on a huge personalization, on the good use of AI and of big data can be really something interesting. Here, Zalando is really working around that, but we've seen many startups also in this particular field, in fashion, more and more in beauty. So I'm absolutely convinced, as you say, that those models are also going to emerge strongly from the crisis.
And would L'Oreal consider setting up its own retail marketplace with L'Oreal brands, multi-brand L'Oreal website, or even including competitor brands on an e-commerce channel?
Actually, it exists. Actually, it does exist. It's called Saloncentric, and it's in the US. And it's we bought a distributor called Saloncentric years ago, and we have, of course, accelerated its digital transition and its e-commerce transition. So today it's a model that works well for us. It's a model that is really around professional hair care and hair color beauty brands. And it's really working very well for us and for the PPD division. So yeah, it's an interesting avenue that we are digging further into.
So could you see doing that, for example, for different categories of products, for example, prestige brands, or for fragrances or skincare brands, kind of segmenting that a little bit?
It's really under review right now, so I cannot say more about it. But actually, what I can say is that we have a great pilot from which to learn in the US with Saloncentric, and we're really looking into it.
Okay. Just what you said there about the number of brands that we can buy online and the number of places to buy online there, and the necessity there for having curated beauty websites as well. Just given the growing number of places to buy beauty online, what do you think makes the difference to the consumer there? She has so many choices today. What will make her buy on one website as opposed to another?
I think, I'm a little bit obsessed with this notion of membership and subscription. I think that there's something there that is at play in many compartments of the digital platforms. When we see, Twitter acquiring a subscription-based, model. When we see, of course, the strength of Prime for Amazon. When we see that now we have like a search engine by subscription. I think this notion of subscription and membership is really getting hotter and hotter in digital overall. And I think at the end of the day, it creates a massive USP for you as a consumer, because it's a great way for the platform to know you better based on the history of your purchases. It's a great way for the platform to be able to push you relevant products and make it more personal. And I think that's really a place to watch. That's really a place to watch. We've started a model like that in the US. It's called Color & Co. It's a model that is really focused on hair color and personalized hair color. And I think the more you get into personalized beauty, the more those type of models will make sense. But I would say that's one. So membership. The other one is really the power of the services that can come, with the shopping experience. Services in beauty are all around virtual makeup try-on, or skincare diagnostic, or teleconsultation, or shade finders, everything that can help you navigate the virtual aisle of the beauty products and the beauty offering.
Okay, interesting. So we can see subscription models becoming a lot bigger then, and perhaps less niche than what they are today, I would imagine.
I think so.
Okay. I just want to ask you a little bit about China, obviously, because China is setting a lot of the digital trends globally. Live streaming is very big in China, and there have been more initiatives in the West, especially over the past year with COVID. How do you see that? Do you see that live streaming will take off in the West, or how do you see that kind of the success that we see in China with that model needs to be adapted to work elsewhere?
It's true that live streaming is huge, obviously, in China and in Asia in general. It's interesting when we think of social commerce. It's a big, it's a big buzzword right now. Social commerce. There are different forms of social commerce. There is one form. I like to think about it like one form is really about live streaming, and it's a kind of QVC reinvented, if you want, in a way, more interactive, more faster, but it's QVC at the end of the day. And on the other side, you have more the EBA model that is more like a door-to-door type of model reinvented. So I think those are really the key big things. Live streaming is very dependent on the platforms. So the moment where YouTube, the moment where Facebook, the moment where Instagram, the moment when Amazon want to go big on live streaming and live streaming shopping, shopping enable live streaming, I think that's gonna take off. It's really very dependent on the platforms, I would say, and on the willingness of the platforms to drive this model and to enable it from a commerce and shopping point of view. We've tried on our own websites many experiments in terms of live shopping and live streaming, and it works. It really works. Of course, it's not the massive audiences that we can see from a Chinese perspective, but it bears some learnings. It works because it's very you feel like it's a very close relationship with the influencer or the expert that is doing the show. You can ask all your questions, and you have this notion of instant gratification that comes, with the speed and the animation around the live streaming experience. And we've seen really very good conversion rates, up to 10 to 12%, small basis, but very engaged. High conversion rates, which I think validates the model. And now it's really up to the platforms to really make it big and to enable it from a shopping point of view.
Because what we're hearing as well is that, for some brands to do this by themselves, they have to invest so much basically in getting that audience there, that the return on investment is not necessarily there. Perhaps works better on a retailer live streaming, for example, Douglas, that has started to do live streaming because they have the audience already there. But just to get that return on investment, it's quite difficult. And also that the click to purchase is not necessarily there. It still doesn't have that frictionless type experience that you might have in China. Would you agree with that?
Yes, I would agree with that. So in terms of audience gathering, that's one point. So this is why I'm really saying that it depends on the platforms now, because the platforms are commanding the big audiences. So the moment they really want to go big there, it will take off. The retailers have also done some many interesting inroads there. And I would say that beyond the audience gathering, I think that, I mean, it's a whole completely different way of addressing your consumers. I mean, it's not something that you have to be trained for that. I mean, you know, doing a live session for 45 minutes, like just reviewing product, it's not everybody can do that. And then you have to really learn how to moderate your content and your audience, because sometimes it can go off. So all of those are learnings. We are learning. But I would absolutely agree with you that the moment where the platforms go big, that the frictions are removed, and that it's really a fully shopping enabled live streaming experience, then it will take off for real.
Okay. And in terms of gaming as well, and group buying, which is growing quite a lot in China, are there any learnings there that you see that could be applied perhaps to other markets, or how do you see that evolving?
I think, you know, it's one is cultural, I would say, because if any of one of our audience, everyone in the audience have been in Japan or in Asia in general, in a casino or in a pachinko, you know, type of gaming palace, it's really something that people love. And so all the mechanisms that you know the platforms have put in place in terms of lucky charm, like the 5 minutes to go, all of those mechanisms and tactics are really working well. So we still have to prove that these type of, you know, tactics and mechanisms are working in the Western world. I'm sure that there are some countries where it will work better, but I think that what is interesting is that the notion of gamification is really something that is there to create a relationship, a sense of emergency, a sense of urgency, a sense of, you know, excitement. And this is how we can really reuse some of the mechanisms that are at play in the gaming world. I think gaming is a culture, gaming are platforms, but gaming are also tactics and mechanisms that we can reproduce in the shopping experience.
Mm-hmm. Would you agree with some people that who are saying that, you know, gaming are like the new malls, or they're the new social networks, they're the new malls, and that there is, we were talking about live streaming, that, you know, it's very natural for people to want to buy in a gaming platform perhaps, or there's already that excitement there and it would be the next step perhaps to have a commerce element there. How do you see that?
It's hard to say because the gaming world, exactly as the internet world 25 years ago, is something that has very deeply rooted cultural traits that used to be very underground, not very commercial. So all this cultural aspect of it is something that I think many people will want to protect as long as they can.
Okay.
So when we brands, we go in those platforms, we have to be careful in the way we go there, in the respect we have to have for the audience that are there and that are gamers. But what is true on the other side is that gaming has democratized a lot. And today we have people exactly like the internet 25 years later, who were not the internet pioneers and who are very happy with the commercial internet that we are living in. And so I think that it will happen, but it will take time. It will take time. It's really the time that the cultural hardcore pioneers maybe let go of the platforms, or alternative platforms are created. And this is where the moment I think the shopping and the commercial part of it will start. But what is interesting is that understanding how gaming works and how a gameplay works is something that can help us change a bit the experience in the shopping experience on our D2C websites, for example. I would go more that direction first, and then wait for the maturity of the whole gaming world to get to more commercial purposes.
Right. Okay. And just in terms of social commerce there, do you think there are, how do you think that will evolve? Because there are doubts over whether people actually want to buy on social commerce platforms such as Instagram, for example. You know, those people are there primarily to connect with other people, to be entertained, etc. Do you think that they're willing to buy? Because it's quite still a small percentage of commerce that's being done. There are people who are ready to buy on those platforms. Can you see that changing?
Yes, actually, yes, I would say yes, because what we see is that there is a before we used to have very different worlds. There was a world to browse and to brand build, and there was a world to buy. And you had like Instagram on one side and Amazon on the other side. What we see for many years now is that both things are colliding. In fact, on Amazon, you can brand build, and many brands are actually, like, you know, before brands were starting off from Instagram. Brands were creating out of Instagram. Today, brands are creating out of Amazon. So you really have this capacity to brand build on Amazon. And more, of course, the social platforms want to integrate, as you said, in a as frictionless as possible experience of shopping. So I think that's the direction it takes. Now it's more a question of fixing the experience on the social networks, which is not yet there because of the frictions, because of the fact that it's not their native business model. Commerce is not their native business model, so they have to fix it. But the day they will fix it, I don't see any barriers, in fact, for shopping to happen on Instagram or on Facebook or on YouTube one day.
Okay. You mentioned there Amazon. You can build a brand on Amazon today. Can you build a prestige brand on Amazon today? Because with the growth in e-commerce also has kind of further eroded the division between prestige and mass. I mean, basically any brand can do what they want on e-commerce, and there's so many options that the experience is, you know, you don't necessarily think about prestige and mass. Can you see Amazon becoming a big platform for prestige brands also?
I think it's a strategic direction for them, and they are really working hard in terms of fixing the experience and being able to provide for prestige brands the environment, the tools, the capabilities for prestige brands to really portray their brand in the best way. So I think it's a strategic direction for Amazon. Now we'll see the moment where we believe we'll be ready, and the experience will be at the level of what we believe is important for our brands.
Okay, so they're not there yet, not quite yet.
Our brands are still not massively there.
Yeah. Okay. You recently invested in social commerce company Replica. Do you think that this type of social commerce model, if you could maybe elaborate a little bit about your strategy behind that, and do you think that can work for all brands, that sort of peer-to-peer social commerce, and even for prestige brands also?
I would say yes, absolutely. And this is really like, as I said, you have the social commerce that is really platform driven with the live streaming and all of the capabilities there. And you have the social commerce that is more this peer-to-peer, door-to-door invented type of experience. And here, our beauty advisors can have a major role. They have been, trained, they love our brands, they are passionate about our products, and they can really become influencers and advocates online. And this is really a movement we've seen during COVID. Our BAs from Kiehl's, from Kiehl's, from NYX Professional Makeup, and also in China, from Lancôme, from all our prestige brands have really been very active online as advocates, and more because of platforms allow it, they can engage their followers into buyers. And this is really what we see with WeChat groups, when you have up to 500 followers, and then you can do daily, product presentations, product reviews, and then enable your followers and consumers, in fact, to be buyers. The strong growth of Facebook groups is something that we clearly see enabling that movement. WhatsApp could definitely be a platform that enables that. So I guess it's a matter of time, and this is why we've invested in Replica, because we actually do believe a lot in this model where you have this peer-to-peer aspect, but a peer-to-peer that is really composed of experts and people who are beauty experts.
Okay. Okay. You're forecasting that 50% of business will come from e-commerce, I think, very shortly. You would imagine then that with that growth there, that you will be increasingly doing business with a lot of these big tech players. How do you see the risks there? Doing business with these huge corporations that are often, bigger than countries, as it were. Is there a risk there for brand owners, or how do you see that?
So first of all, the 50% is not a goal. In that particular case, we don't think in goals, we think in probabilities. This is what we did in 2014 when e-commerce was 2% of our sales. We said we believe that by 2020 there is a strong probability that e-commerce accelerate a lot, and that represents 20% of the market. We want to be there. So it's exactly the same bet in a way we are doing right now, and we believe that doing the bet early enough allows you as a company to anticipate, prepare, and build the capabilities. So this is why the 50% is not a goal, but we believe it's such a strong probability that we want to get prepared for that. In terms of the composition of this e-commerce, this is you really have to go in a very refined analysis, again, by country, by brand, by business model, to really understand where the growth is coming from, what are the new players. And it's true that it's always a bit difficult as an exercise, as we know things are changing very fast in digital, but there are really things that we start to see. TikTok is gonna become a big player in commerce. Social platforms are going to become big players. E-retailers are really accelerating, and that's great news. Pure players remain very important, of course, because they are commanding and innovating a lot in terms of not only the user experience, but also the back office and the logistics and the delivery experience. So our philosophy in L'Oréal has always been to play with all the players, because we want to be where people are consuming beauty, searching for beauty, buying beauty, talking about beauty. And this is the strength of the L'Oréal model, is that we are where people and consumers are. And so we'll continue to very carefully monitor the market, monitor the new players, monitor the new trends, such as social commerce, I would just say, and build the capabilities around in the company around this belief that at some point the beauty market will be half or close to being half.
Okay, just there you were mentioning commerce and some of those social networks, and we have a question actually about that. I'll just put it to you. What do you think about shopping and the new social networks like Clubhouse, TikTok, and Twitch?
That's very emerging channels. Well, TikTok is not emerging, sorry, but Clubhouse and what was the other one? Sorry,
Twitch.
Clubhouse and Twitch. So I would say that it's TikTok is upcoming. I mean, as we know, in China, Douyin, the parent company of TikTok, has already enabled in e-commerce the platform. It's coming to the rest of the world. So TikTok will be, and I think, a massive e-commerce player in the coming years. We see already a lot of TikTokers that are reviewing and pushing to Amazon or some other players. So it's already in the DNA of the platform to be reviewing and pushing to e-com. So the moment when it starts to be integrated and smooth as an experience, it will even go further. Clubhouse is very early to tell. I would say that today the way we see Clubhouse is more like a B2B channel. Where we can, have our BAs or our dermatologists or our hairstylists really host, rooms and attract new advocates for us. I would say that's more the maturity we see for now. So we don't see it very soon, a big e-commerce play. And as for Twitch, it's a bit what I said earlier. For us, Twitch, we see it more for now as an influencer game and not yet as an e-commerce game. And I think it's really important to respect the temporality, the timing of those platforms. And it's true that all the platforms, if you take back the history of the internet, all the platforms have started from being more content platforms where you build your audience, it provides you a certain type of service, it builds the audience, it builds the scale, and after you start to monetize. I think Twitch is at a moment where we are emerging from the hardcore gaming culture to a culture where you start to see more and more advocacy and influence, where brands can have a say, but you have to be cautious to respect the codes of that environment that is very specific. And I don't see it yet ready for a massive commercial play right now.
Okay. All right. Another question for you, Lubomira, from the audience. Obviously, we've talked about the growth of e-commerce, and we have a question on what is the future of brick and mortar after COVID? Will it be a connected environment? What's your point of view?
Yeah, I again, as I said, I really believe that e-retailers have been a very good surprise during COVID, and that some of them have accelerated tremendously in e-commerce and have really understood the fact that they have a very strong, they have this big strength of being able to do this alliance between the offline business and the online business. And I think it's a very strong promise from a consumer standpoint. And I think that now the key question is build the capabilities in terms of creating the best consumer experience online, to really be able to make the most of their big subscription and membership programs that they have offline, to create really interesting services online. And this is why we are partnering a lot with our virtual try-ons or diagnostics with retailers. And I think that's a great way of elevating the experience, the shopping experience there. And I think that they will be ideally positioned in terms of logistics, in terms of fulfillment, in terms of delivery options moving forward. So they have really a big card to play.
Okay, because I think that's a bit of a worry among a lot of players, the brands and in the retail landscape as well, just in terms of how that's going to pan out. Just one last question. Do you have, in terms of emerging trends, are there anything that you think, we've covered a lot of ground there, is there anything you think we haven't mentioned there in terms of digital trends that you see upcoming that are going to be perhaps transformational from the market in the next few years?
It's something that is already there. We call it beauty tech in our particular world, and I think beauty tech is really how technologies are going to power and empower beauty experiences online. And we have started, when we bought Moodie 3 years ago, it was really out of this belief that augmented reality would change the beauty experience because it would allow people to try before they buy. AI would change the experience because it would give access to, for example, diagnostics, including when you don't have a dermatologist close to your place or when you have to wait for 6 months for an appointment. And we've worked a lot in refining those services and those tools that we can put online. Today, what we see is that it cannot be just an online play. It has to be really an offline and online play. And for example, when we have a hair care diagnostic for Kerastas, we will immediately drive to Salon for the consumer to be able to experiment like the power of a service, a salon service. When we have a diagnostic, a skincare diagnostic, we are proposing a teleconsultation with a dermatologist. That's really to recreate beyond the pure diagnostic online with AI, and that can be a little bit mechanic. to recreate this human relationship and to rehumanize the services that are powered by the technology. So technology is an enabler, but it helps us give access. I think this notion of access is very important. When you don't have maybe a BA, or you cannot go to the shop, being able to virtual try on a makeup or a shade is great. When you don't have access to a dermatologist, having a skincare jag is great. But when you don't have access to a stylist, having a hair color jag is okay, is great. But now the key is to make the junction between the offline and the online world, and recreate this human relationship beyond the pure beauty tech.
Okay, that's great. I think on that note, we'll finish. Lubomira, thank you very much for those interesting insights and for that discussion. I think we covered quite a lot of ground there, and thank you for being with us at Beauty Tech Live.
Thank you, Una. My pleasure.
So we'll take a short break now, and we will be back this afternoon for a session on travel and retail's tech transformation, and another on shoptainment and how to make online shopping fun through virtual try-on live streaming. So please do go to the exhibition hub and check out our exhibitors and have a look at their beauty tech solutions. Thank you, and we'll see you this afternoon.